Hello, and welcome back to the Introduction to Productive Persistence tour. I'm Rachel Beatty, and I'll be taking you through Tour 2, Improving Students' Mindsets. In Tour 1, I described the practical framework of productive persistence. In this tour, I'll be solely focusing on the first driver, that students believe they are capable of learning. In the background survey that we administered to your students in Week 1, we asked them the following question. Being a math person or not is something about you that you really can't change. Some people are good at math and other people aren't. When we looked at the results across the network in previous years, we saw that over 2/3 of students agreed with this statement, meaning that they thought no matter how hard they tried, they would never learn mathematics. Carol Dweck calls this belief a fixed mindset. For students in a fixed mindset, they believe that if they have to try hard, they're clearly not smart because smartness, stereotypically, is about being a natural, about learning being easy and effortless, and that if you have to try, that's clearly evidence that you are not smart. For students in a fixed mindset who do well, they often attribute their success to luck. One of my students once said, "Oh, I only got a B on that exam because I was lucky." And I said, "Well, that's statistically unlikely." However, this evidence did not change her mindset. And for many students in a fixed mindset, even when they're presented with evidence that they can learn, they may reject it. The other type of mindset is a growth mindset. This is a belief that intelligence is malleable and that trying harder makes you smarter. Students in a growth mindset truly appreciate the process of learning and understand that obstacles can be overcome through effort, help from others, and use of improved strategy. So it's not just about the quantity of time or effort students put in, it's also about the quality. Just to compare, students in a fixed mindset, their goal is to look smart. For students in a growth mindset, their goal is to learn. And for students in a growth mindset, they value that process of learning, which is composed of effort, help seeking, and good strategies. For students in a fixed mindset who are faced with a learning challenge, the response is to give up. Whereas for students in a growth mindset, they view that learning challenge as an opportunity to grow their skills and knowledge. So they work harder and they work smarter. And ultimately, we see an increase in grades and performance on exams for students in a growth mindset. But how do we shift a student from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset? Well, the research suggests that if we teach students about how the brain works, how the brain responds to learning and new challenges, then we can shift students to that belief that intelligence is malleable. To do this, we took an article that worked in middle school and contextualized it for Statway and Quantway students, and this was led by David Yeager and Jane Muhich. This article, which is now within all of the Pathways courses, contains passages like this. Most people don't know that when you practice and learn new things, parts of their brain change and get larger, a lot like muscles do. This is true even for adults. So it's not true that some people are stuck being not smart or not math people. You can improve your abilities a lot as long as you practice and use good strategies. After students read this article, they respond to 3 questions. First, they summarize the article. Second, they relate it to an experience outside of mathematics where they learned a new skill. And third, they write a letter to a future Quantway or Statway student, telling them about what they learned. Finally, students engage in a rich and challenging learning test to give them evidence of their new mindset. When we first developed this new article, we compared it to a control article that had facts about the brain, such as what the 4 lobes are called or what a neuron was. But that control article did not have a message about growth. And in this random control trial with community college students, we saw that students randomly assigned to the growth mindset group were significantly less likely to withdraw from the class. And we actually saw a 51% decrease in withdrawal rates in just 40 minutes and for $0. And this article has since been incorporated into all Pathways classes. And I will describe how to implement this activity in future tours. So not only we see the results in the data, but we also hear this in the responses from our students. This student says, "I feel very confident because I dedicate my time to learn the concepts thoroughly. I feel that if one person put in the work to really understand the concepts, they can pass. I was never a math person, but coming in the Statways completely made a 360-degree turn about how I feel about math. It is great. So if we ignore the 360-degree turn thing, what we see is the student emphasizing the process of learning, how he or she understands how you learn and how they can take that to their next class. And that brings us to our next point of how can we create a classroom culture that supports a growth mindset. And one really important thing we can do is change how we talk about learning, just like that student wrote in her quote. And the goal of this, which we call everyday phrases, is to emphasize the process of learning. So we want to create in students a mindset in which the process of learning is the most relevant part of being a good student. So this is something that they can most readily control, as opposed to natural ability. And again, this process is made up of three things: sustained effort, good strategies, and seeking help when needed. Our emphasis on language is supported by a study with Pertz and Khan Academy that they did with a fractions module. Students were randomly assigned to one of two conditions. They either received a placebo phrase before engaging in fractions, such as if at first you don't succeed, try again, or a growth mindset phrase. When you learn a new kind of math problem, you grow your math brain. And what they saw is that students randomly assigned to that growth mindset group saw had a 4 to 5% increase in learning rates compared to those in the placebo group. So these phrases are small but powerful carriers of the growth mindset message. So let's go through a few examples. When you're praising students after success, you could say you're improving, your efforts are really paying off. This really emphasizes the process of learning, as opposed to you're really good at that. Again, this emphasizes the outcome of learning, so the end result, rather than the process. When students are struggling, you could say, struggling on this doesn't mean you can't get it. It means you're learning. Your brain is making connections that are not yet strong. So this is reframing the purpose of struggle and its role in learning, as opposed to saying something like, well, not everyone could get an A on that test, just try to do better. This phrase emphasizes that, well, some people can get an A, but you can't. And there are differences between people that are inherent. And no matter how hard you try, you can't get that A, which is the most important thing. And so unlike the phrase on top, that does not emphasize the process of learning. It emphasizes only the outcome and suggests that that student may not even be capable of ever reaching that outcome. So now you get to try a couple phrases on your own. I want you to indicate whether they're growth mindset or a fixed mindset. Well, thank you so much for attending this tour about growth mindset. In the next tours, you will learn about social ties and the value and learning strategies. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you in the next tour.